May you always turn towards love.
As I keep doing this exercise, life becomes beautiful. Like life becomes like lighter. Like life becomes like I can see the divine. When you ask me at the beginning, hey, what do you do? Like when was the life that you turned towards love? Every single time I do this exercise, I'm turning towards love because I'm loving a part of myself and I'm transmuting it, and then I start like thinking different. I start like looking into my emotions. I start like creating this subtle body, and I'm able to perceive other things. I'm able to perceive synchronicities. I'm able to meet people that are in the right frequency. I'm able to...
Today's guest is Jose Martinez Mendez. What a heart-filled episode where we dive deep into the topics of alchemy, synchronicity, and all things mystical. Jose is an incredible human and such a committed soul to connection, to being a healer. He's a plant medicine explorer and a skilled teacher of alchemy. He holds a ton of knowledge, experience, and insight into the alchemical process. Jose wants to spread love to all humans with the practices that have helped him turn chaos into light. In this episode, we provide a safe place for you to be you, to laugh, and to find sincerity and embrace your true self. We share our synchronicities to show you how we can step by step unravel the mysteries of life. We discuss the interconnectedness of all beings and the profound bliss that comes from the spiritual connection. What a magical episode of opening our hearts and bringing awareness to our ability to let love shine through. I really hope you enjoy this episode.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the Turn Towards Love podcast.
Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, like on a personal level, what is love to you?
That's a good question. I mean, I think love, love is just something beyond myself, I think. I think that, we can get really philosophical here, right? But because, love is like quite it could be like the answer, it could be like the answer or like the goal in this life, no? Like, that's really like, I think that's what we came to master in this life is love, and love comes like from many different angles. So like starting with love to oneself, so love to myself. I think that's the biggest one, because once I turn love towards me, I can see love somewhere else now, and like love is like, like just accepting people how they are, being empath, have compassion, and that starts with me, like loving myself, like having compassion with myself, having empathy with myself, accepting the way who I am, and just because I am. So there is no other reason to that. So just accepting the things as they are, because just that's, I cannot do anything about it, right? I cannot change anything, and which is funny because change is the only constant, right? So if it's like, what can I change? I can change myself, but the actions that I take are because of who I am, right? And I think like embracing that and like accepting who I am is like a big step towards love.
Absolutely. It's only when we love and know ourselves we can, love everything else around us. Because what's within is without, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, no? And it's because like, and I think it's also like an illusion, because sometimes like we're trying to love, something like outside of us, like, hey, like I want a relationship, or hey, I'm gonna love my parents, hey, I'm gonna, love animals. But then you see stuff and like you're like, oh no, but there is like, you feel like this distance sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this distance coming from, right? And I think like a lot of the times it happens that distance is the distance that we have within ourselves, because we just are not loving those parts. Because once we start loving those parts of ourselves, or just accepting who we are, I think like that bridge starts like merging into just oneness.
Absolutely. And so when I say like turning towards love, it's that very thing inwardly and outwardly. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have an experience where you can, for example, you can either turn towards love in a response, which is
Mm-hmm.
like in present moment, which is carefully, compassionately to someone, say in a difficult circumstance, or you've got the option to react in kind of like a negative way, in a way of defense, in a way of that isn't love, that is either that's in a lower frequency, in a way which isn't um each come have their kind of consequences, or each come with their own path, right? Because you can go down that direction and that direction, and it's when we turn towards love, in my experience, where everything has just um it's just opened, like an open heart, and a vulnerable state is then at play. And in that vulnerable state, we can love more, because we're like, oh, we're not being shouted at. We don't need to defend. We don't need to fix. We just need to be in that moment with that person or circumstance. So in your life,
Mm-hmm.
has there been a circumstance where you were able to you had the higher awareness to turn towards love rather than fear?
Yes.
The fear is the reaction, and the
Mm-hmm.
love is the mindful kind of response. So, and what did that do for you? Like, have you had some kind of profound moment or awakening where it's just been like, wow, because I chose love, this has happened, and
Yeah.
it's like opened up like a new world for you or something?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I've had like many different occasions where this has happened to me, and like it's funny because sometimes it's not even conscious that I'm doing it, and sometimes it's conscious, right? So I'm gonna put you two examples. Like one is like really like in my mundane life, right? um I was just like, I was with my dad like the other day, and I was gonna my mom entered to like this supermarket, and I was gonna go enter to the supermarket, and there was like this guy walking, like this old person walking, right? And I calculated perfectly, so like I would pass, so I passed a bit in front of him, um but it was a bit close, right? and and then I hear like I passed, and then I hear somebody like shouting like, no, 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 and then the guy like grabs me, and he's like, hey, like you almost crashed me, like um like he first started talking in Dutch, like, hey, you, blah. I'm like, hey, English, please. And he's like, hey, you almost crashed me. Like, didn't you see like what's going on? Like, we don't do this in Holland. Like, you have to like look both sides. And then at the beginning, I was like, no, I did look, and I mean, I didn't touch you. Did I touch you? And he was like, no, like this, like no, like you almost touched, like you almost crashed me. And then I had like a switch, and I was like, wait, like, okay, if I keep arguing, I'm not gonna go anywhere, right? So when I say
Right.
like, and then I changed my speech, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, like really, I'm sorry that I stepped like too close to you. I thought I had calculated so that it wouldn't have bothered you, but I'm sorry that I did. And once I did that, he also changed his attitude, and he was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just sorry. And he didn't sorry. It's like, this is just the second time that happened, like in the last minute, that somebody else almost like crashed me. So he was just like holding that, and I was, I guess, the trigger for him to express those things, right? And I was like, and that made me reflect a lot, like about two things, right? Like two things. The first one is like, I mean, we have no idea what's happening in any other people's around than might, trigger people or not trigger people, or like take. So if I would have taken that personally, it's like, oh no, like this guy, like it has nothing to do with me. I mean, it did have to do with me because I did uh pass on his boundary, which I thought it was not. I mean, I thought it was like smooth. I was like, ooh, smooth.
Yeah. It's like what everyone's like nowadays. Everyone's so fast. Oh,
Yeah,
and I think like the older generation, especially, it can be like a bit like, whoa, it's not
yeah, yeah,
be slower.
exactly. Exactly. So that was like okay. So one is like not taking like things personal because we don't know what's happening, and the two is like once I change that, I
Mm.
turn into like, you know what? Yes, I'm sorry. Like really, I'm sorry. Like I didn't mean to do this. I just wanted to go to my mom. I didn't even have to explain myself, but the whole frequency of the whole interaction changed, and I could even see like, like how both we connected as as human beings that are in our life, and like, sometimes we just need to slow down life. And he
Yes.
even apologized, like, hey, I'm sorry, like I was like, it's just stuff that is happening to me, and I also like slow down life, and like, yeah, I just could have just let you pass, but that was like a very mundane, like day-to-day thing that happened to me. Like this was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, wow, look,
It's
there's a yeah.
It's perfect. It's an absolutely perfect example. Thank you so much. Because it is those everyday interactions where
Hmm.
we need to kind of have that greater awareness, because it sounds like you left that feeling positive, and he left that
Yeah.
feeling positive. And that's what's important, because when we leave feeling negative, we feel awful for so long after, because we know it's not right when we do
Hmm.
something wrong. And then it can become like a vicious cycle after that. And so I find it so important at all times to do exactly what you just did. And it can be so hard, because when we're in the moment and we feel like we need to defend ourselves, we can get so caught up in that emotion, in that energy, in that, but also, and then it can like get taken away from us, and we can, not have the awareness because it just disappears, and we say things we don't mean and stuff. Or we can catch ourselves before that happens, and
Hmm.
in that moment we go, whoa, we're about to lose our mind.
Hmm.
Breathe, and then
Hmm.
get, and it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You were like, hang on a minute, I'm sorry, and
Hmm.
and I don't know what's going on in your life, in your world, and you don't know what's going on in mine. And, that interaction seems like it had to happen for some kind of lesson and growth and greater awareness. And I think if we see things in that perspective, like you just demonstrated at all times, then nothing can really ever go wrong, because it's all kind of building us up in our character, in a,
Hmm.
in a beautiful way.
Yeah,
What do you
totally.
think?
I mean, totally. I mean, I'm with you, like totally. Especially because it's like, I mean, especially nowadays, it's difficult to like slow down life, right? And like you said, like
Yeah.
sometimes like we interact, like we don't even recognize our emotions, or even if we recognize, we're already a bit too late, and we still have time, even when we are too late in our emotions, to like, hey, what's triggering this? Can I do something about it? And if I can, act on it, right? And I guess for some people it's more, I mean, it lags that time on like recognizing the emotion and acting on it. I
Mhm.
mean, it might be like, oh, the whole interaction happened, and you know um yeah, I went all defensive mode, and then when like you said, then it went to a negative state, but you still have that opportunity to learn from those things, and maybe like a good exercise would be like, hey, what, like, say for example, on this day or on this past week, what emotions were, um you know where I felt a bit, you know heavy from this week, and what can I
Mm.
learn from it? Did I do something? What did I feel something? And then once that, you can like, oh yeah, then, oh yeah, look, this came up, and now the next time it happens, maybe you start getting that discernment to like, oh yeah, okay, hey, this is repeating, now I can change. And this is how we start changing patterns, and how we can like start slowing down life. And I think that's really important, because once we start doing that, life becomes so much beautiful. I mean, not just like looking into what's triggering us, but just like choosing, that high frequency of like love, of like compassion, of empathy, of accepting people how they are, and accepting, and that doesn't mean, and that also means like having boundaries, right? And having like, and that boundary comes like with our own self-love and our own things, so that, because first it starts with us, right? But yeah, it definitely makes life way more easier, um and beautiful.
It really does. And when we listen to our heart like that, you know that when we listen to our heart, that everything that we say, we act, we feel, is going to flow in a synchronized, beautiful way. So in a harmonious way, which is in balance, because, like you said, we have to have a boundary, which is like, okay, I'm not going to push myself in order to feel uncomfortable in a situation. I'm going to stay where, I feel kind of safe, or, but again, like in that kind of love state, that you are safe and that you are loved and everything's okay. So yeah, I think having that balance, like you said, and kind of that flow, so you're making the right decision for you, but also taking into consideration and appreciation of everyone else that you interact with as well, and their needs and things like that. It's nice to not kind of just immediately judge that they have the same perspective and beliefs that you do, because then we can like just fall short every time, so I think like listening to your heart and then responding is a way forward. And so that brings me on to what I wanted to talk about next with you, is like, because we met at a Metis event.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, what amazed me at that event was all the synchronicities, because it was my intuition that really pulled me to go there. And I was in a space where I was kind of in a hermit mode, and I was just like very introspective. And so going to a large event, I actually didn't know it was going to be that large.
Yeah,
But
that's
it was
crazy.
like shocked. I was like, it's going to be a table of people. It's like
Yeah,
1,000
exactly.
people.
I was like,
And
oh, there's only gonna be like 10 people.
I know we're going to have the best time. I was like, Diaz, you're so far away. No, he wasn't that far, was he really?
Yeah, that was
But
quite funny.
anyway, but so do you want to explain a bit about, because when we were there, we were saying like how everything that Matthias was talking about was actually in our lives in some kind of way in that moment. It's some like many things that I discussed with my friend at that moment. He was then talking about, it was just literally unbelievable. I'd be talking about something in the morning, and then when we went to listen to him in the afternoon, he'd be talking about that. And
Mhm.
then it was just so wild, because it was one synchronicity after another, and I've never experienced it so intensely. It was like the universe was like, push
Oh
in
yeah,
this direction. And so
yeah,
I find that so powerful, and I think like the audience would just I think it's so helpful for people to just know how to listen to their intuition, what synchronicities are, and also giving your example and our example of that.
yeah, totally, totally. So it's, I mean, well, well, there might be some people that don't know what a synchronicity, and for me, synchronicity, I first heard it from Carl Jung, right? And it comes like, synchronicities are like events that happen that, all of a sudden we think is kind of like by random, like some things that happens are really random, but are like that, but are like really connected with something that we might have experienced in the past that gives like, it's kind of like the continuation of a movie or the continuation of a scene that was before, like in a stop, or like the missing link of something, right? And then once that happens,
Right.
then you get like an aha moment, or you get like, like, whoa, okay, like this, like maybe it might appear as a symbol, or it might appear as like, a word, or like a memory that comes up, or like, even like something that, maybe you're thinking about something, and then all of a sudden you hear randomly, or you see something that completes that thought or something. And it's really amazing when that happens, because it feels like, like the universe, or like the higher self, or like, the order of this world, is giving you a signal of like, hey, keep going, this is the path. You feel like that voice of like, the divinity just talking to me or to ourselves, and like, just keep going. This is the purpose. And that's a really beautiful moment. So the way we met in at Matias, it was incredible, because first, it's similar to you, like I listened to my intuition, and as soon as I saw, like, because I follow Matias, and I saw like in his Instagram page, hey, I'm gonna go to London, like this was like in January, February, and I'm gonna go to London, and I live in Amsterdam, so I'm like, you know what, I just feel like I wanna go there, and I did that, and I booked it for May. And I was supposed to go with some people, with my sister. Then they didn't go. Then some friends, and then nobody else ended up going. Right? I ended up being by myself. Right? So I'm like, okay, hey, let's go to Matias. I'm so excited. So then when I go there, I'm like, oh yeah, let's meet this. I mean, me and like these other 10 people, other crazy people that are gonna go there. And hey, why not? So I woke up start walking over there, and then I see like I go to the event, and I see this huge line that is going like doing a whole, like the whole block around, and I'm like, there's no way this is it. I'm just gonna go to the right, because I see an entry there, and you know see if this is the entry, just because I didn't want to do the line, and then and then and then right when I start entering, I see you, and you were with your friend, right? And I see that you like talk to the person in like in the entrance, and then you turn back, and then you see like we cross looks, and then you told me like, hey, Matthias. and I'm like and I'm like,
Matthias,
yeah, yeah,
you were
yeah,
there. I was like, oh, hello, human.
yeah, yeah,
Matthias. Way.
and yeah, exactly. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm going, yeah, I'm going. And then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm following you. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm following you, right? So we went across the whole block, which I could have.
Like this. 5 hours later, we get to the end line.
Which is funny, because I could have just like at the beginning, just like do the line, and we nothing of this would have happened, right?
Yeah.
So like
Right.
everything, like and everything happens for a reason, right? So then yeah, we start doing the line, and then we start talking like, hey, well, how are you, like, hey, oh, how do you hear about this? Oh, I follow Matias, and all of this stuff, right? And then for
Yeah.
some reason we oh, I told you, oh no, actually, yeah, because we started talking about like the Stonehenge, and like these the different like sacred like stones, or like,
Sacred circles. Yeah.
yeah, like those special sites that the UK has, or like Great Britain has. um
Yeah.
and,
That was
and
it.
yes,
It was
and
the Michael
like going,
Mary line,
yes, exactly, and
which
we
is
no, go ahead.
just quickly, let me just it's where you go from like south to north or north to south of the
Hmm.
UK all the way up. There's a direct line of sacred sites, and it goes from like Brodgar in Orkney at the top of Scotland on the island all the way down south to the end. So it's a completely perfect line and they all sit perfectly
Yeah.
on that energy line, and it's amazing.
Hmm.
So we was talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about it, and I was like, "Hey, I want like this is a dream that I have, is to go and do this, like just go like road trip." And then you're like, "Oh, I also have been wanting to do the same," and I was like, "Oh yeah, great." Well, and then I was like, "Oh well, I don't have any holidays left for this year, so hey, let's organize for
Let's
next
go.
year." And then it's like, okay, yeah, let's exchange contacts, right? So then I'm like, for some reason I'm like, okay, hey, let's use Instagram, right? So then, hey, what's your Instagram? Then you give me your Instagram, and all of a sudden there's one person in common, and I'm like, okay, who's this person in common? Then it was Sage Silence or Larry,
I
right?
was like, hang on a minute, is that Sage? You know Sage, you know Larry?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, yeah, how do you know Larry? And then you're like, oh, so yeah, you're like, no, I'm working with him. I was gonna go to this trip in. So Larry is this person that organizes trips to Egypt.
Egypt.
He's an Egyptologist, and he like likes to like find the mysteries of Egypt and like correlations within math and and sacred geometry. It's beautiful work. What he does is just amazing.
Beautiful
Um,
work. He's also doing Stonehenge in October.
yeah, which is incredible, no? I
So
mean, and
exciting.
if you have the opportunity to go and meet Larry, I mean, he's incredible. I love him. Uh,
Everyone go meet Larry.
yeah, I mean, Larry's just such a character. He's just incredible human. Uh, and it's funny because like you told me, oh no, yeah, I was gonna go to this trip in Egypt with Larry, and I was like, hang on a minute, I went to Egypt with Larry in March, and that's the same trip that you were supposed to go with Larry, and we were like both like, what is going on? Like we were just like, because there's a line of 1,000 people going into this
Yeah.
event, and then because I tried to make the shortcut and you say Matthias, we connected, and then all of a sudden I mean, and I were gonna either meet in at that event with Larry or there where we met at Matthias, right? So I was like, whoa. And then I guess from that point, like, like a lot of just like, like it was just like we were just like amazed, on like what happened there. So that was like what like one of the biggest synchronicities I've ever had in my life, to be honest. So that was
And
pretty
me.
yeah.
I was like, what? There's 1,000 people. I turned around and you were randomly there at this front door where the queue was not at. And then suddenly, we were in conversations with two other girls as well, and Abby and me
Yeah.
and you. And then we just was like, what? Like screaming out loud, like, how is this happening? How was you on that trip? And there was, certain reasons why I didn't go on that trip. And it felt like for me, there was things that happened after, which I now know why. But yeah, it just seemed like it just confirmed a lot as well. It confirmed that. So out of this 1,000 people in this queue, and we'd discovered that we should have gone on the same trip to Egypt. And I didn't know you didn't know me, but we randomly knew Larry, who's in America. And I randomly saw him on Robert Edward Grant's thing once and, added him and was like, hi. And then, so it's all these kind of things. And speaking of that, actually, because I just wanted to say something like, we can all say, oh, it's a coincidence, and we can push things aside, and in life we say it a lot because you're like, oh my God, this amazing, shocking things happened, which is like this, and we can just push it aside or just say it's a coincidence. But like Robert Edward Grant did that test, didn't he, which was proving that randomness and coincidences just, it isn't that at all. It's like divine intervention almost, it feels to me. It's like it's perfectly where we are supposed to be. And that's how that moment felt for me. It was
Totally.
like, oh my gosh, I know why I needed to come here. I know why this, and I didn't know why, but it made me feel like you was talking about previously, that you feel like you're on the right track. Because
Yeah.
it's like you're given a sign, which is, oh, I'm on the right track now. I feel okay.
it's incredible. Like, it's really incredible. I mean, it's just like, I mean, jaw dropping, really. Like, I mean, like what? Yeah, like what? I mean, talking about like, I mean, what Robert says, about like, I mean, there is this thing in math called the theory of chaos. I don't know how do you say chaos or chaos.
Chaos, yeah.
But yeah, chaos.
Yeah.
So what it mean, like in math, what is chaos is that we just don't have enough understanding on why some things are happening. But if we do have the understanding from a higher order or from a higher dimension, then everything makes sense. And that's like a thing in mathematics, right? And it's beautiful because, like, yeah, like sometimes you're like, hey, by my intuition, hey, I should go here, or and same me, and then all of a sudden, all of this happens, and then it's beautiful because it's just not that it happens, but like that gave like so much momentum and continuing to like keep interacting, right? And like maybe some like walls of defense, like just meeting people, you always like, I mean, you're just not gonna be an open book to anyone just like that, but then that kind of like say, hey, we both feel in a safe space just because we have the same. I mean, we were gonna go to the same trip. We're here in the Matias. We both wanted to do like that trip for like in the sites. So you start having like these common things, and then we keep talking. And we keep interacting, and then more synchronicities keep happening. Like more things keep happening. And you saw a symbol the Vesica Pisces, right? That you, I mean, maybe you want to talk a bit more later. And I also like see another symbol, which is like the pentagram, and it's like, okay, so I've been receiving a lot of signals with this symbol, right? And the pentagram is just like a five
I
pointed
was,
star.
yeah, I have that on my
Mhm.
wrist at the moment.
Oh, beautiful.
I thought I'd put it on,
that's that's
especially.
that's exactly.
Good luck. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only crazy people that have seen a symbol for the past year and a half in my life, in which I'm just going crazy because there is some information on the symbol that I don't know what it is, but I'm following, and you have this same symbol. So there is another synchronicity, like, I mean, not maybe
Yeah.
the same symbol, but
Mm.
it's a symbol. But and actually, you do have something with the pentagram as well, or not the pentagram, but at least the pentagon as
The
well. So
pentagon.
yeah.
Because
Hmm.
that was my logo actually for Turn Towards Love with an iris in the middle because it was like the diamond.
Hmm.
And it was, yeah, it was, I mean, we could talk about that but that was another synchronicity. And also, it was the Vesica, wasn't it? That for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But what
That
was it you saw with the Vesica as well? Because
well,
because you're doing the whole with alchemy and things.
well,
Was it?
well, because the vesica is kind of like the onion, right? So, like, I mean, I understand that what the vesica was, which is the like the. I mean, okay, the Vesica Pisces is like is like one circle, and then if you put another circle like right on the middle with the same radius, it
Intersects.
it
Yeah.
intersects perfectly, and it creates like kind of like this shape right in the middle with two circles,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and there is like so much with this symbol going on, because I like, I mean, I'm a math, I'm a nerd, I love like like drawing sacred geometry, and like, and I just like, when you told me Vesica Pisces, I understood everything on like, hey, I know what the Vesica Pisces is, and like, also like symbolism behind it. Uh-huh.
And that was it because, sorry,
No, go ahead. Yeah.
you was saying, you was, because when we was there and I was talking about the Vesica after you were talking about the pentagram, um, you mentioned that because you met the people who you went on tour with at Egypt the day before to Glastonbury, and you went into the Mary Magdalene chamber
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Glastonbury, and the Vesica was literally on the floor as you
Yes,
walked
yes,
in. And it's
yes.
like the Vesica, is two intersecting. circles, like Jose said, and it can be either vertically or horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's a precious symbol in my life. I had a spiritual sort of like interaction, which I don't know whether we can go into yes or no later, but it's a huge symbol in my life. So when I started talking to Jose about it, this you mentioned the day before, and it was like blowing my mind because
Yes.
because I had just been like going deep into like Mary Magdalene and also like in all the podcasts I've been watching and intentionally going into that. So when you told this story, which I'd love for you to share now,
Yes.
is it just it I was like, I don't even know how to deal with this information. It's like too
Yeah.
much
No. I mean,
synchronicity at once.
yeah. No. It was phenomenal. Like it was really like amazing because like so the day before, like I came to the UK like 2 days before that Saturday that we met. I came on like on a Thursday night, and some friends like Nas and Zach from Egypt that I mean they live in the UK, but I met them in Egypt in this same trip, right? So we went. They picked me up at the airport at the Heathrow, and then we drove to Glastonbury, um, and there I mean, it was just like we went at night to. I mean, it was like even before I met you, like London or like UK was already like Glastonbury was just like full of magic. Like that place is amazing. Like I went to the Glastonbury tour and like all the spiritual shops and like we went like at night like at 12 and 1, and then that day we went to like in Glastonbury like there is two rivers, right? Like or like not two rivers, like two canals of water which represent like you know uh kind of like the kundalini energy. So there's like there's like the I think is the red water one and the white water. I don't I'm
Right.
totally, and then in one of them like on the red one there is like a garden, and in the garden it has the Vesica Pisces sign on it, and I was like whoa, and I took pictures of it and I was like, oh, this is the Vesica Pisces right here. And it even has like you go to like this place in the same where they have like it's like a well, and they call it the fairy well, or and it has like that shape of the Vesica Pisces on top of it, and that and they said and it has the shape of the Holy Grail. So it's like this magical thing, and I was like seeing all of this, and I was like, whoa! I even bought like a little letter. I don't have it with me to show it, but I mean, it was just like that Vesica Pisces. And then when you tell me about the Vesica Pisces, I'm like, wait a minute, I just saw the Vesica Pisces yesterday at Glastonbury, and then it was
Yeah.
like, boom, and then that. I mean, that's not. I mean, that's not. I mean, like, and so that's what a synchronicity is. Like the day before I saw the Vesica Pisces, and the Vesica Pisces was something really, like you had like a really strong signal at the time with the Vesica Pisces, and then we were able to connect through the Vesica Pisces, with and it gives you Egypt, it gives you the Matthias, the line, also the line from the UK, and then it gives you the Vesica Pisces, and then you have another, and then you have the pentagram, and it's just like, boom, and then it's just like, and then as we kept talking, like more things kept coming, like boom, 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 boom. And we were
Yes.
like,
That's crazy. It's with the Vesica Pisces because it represents like either like heaven and earth or masculine and feminine energy, and the balance between the two in the center. And it represents like as above, so below. It represents, it depends what kind of spiritual outlook you wanna talk into it with about whatever. But it's that it was that masculine and feminine energy and the balance of that, and like my kind of awakenings at the moment have been about balancing the masculine and feminine energy, and that's why I was doing like turn towards love, because I think love within ourselves and giving love towards others and finding that balance of energy, and then when you like, because you had a purpose and an intention when you went into the chamber with Mary Magdalene and stuff, and then we had yet another synchronicity on that trip with the dragon,
yes,
because because not only through that masculine and feminine energy that you was feeling, well, it was more the feminine energy that you was feeling into, and then after that it was like it came into like the dragon conversation for me, because I had this spiritual experience with a green dragon, like when I was in a kind of like regression, but it wasn't, and it was just a vision when I was in like a deep state of meditation, and but I was in a session at the time, and yeah, I won't go into that now, but so the dragon is huge for me, and so I was explaining to you this story. So if you'd like to kind of explain how that kind of wove into the end of that trip, and then what you gave to me at the end of that trip.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That. I mean, yes. So, so when I was, I mean, yeah, it's awesome. So when I was in Glastonbury, I so at the in the red chalice, or like, yeah, the red chalice. That's what it's called, the red chalice and the white chalice. So on the red chalice, I saw like the Vesica Pisces, and there was like a shop, right? And then I bought that's where I bought like the Vesica Pisces symbol, and then I also bought like something about like elementals, and then I saw something about like dragons, like a which is called the I am dragon, right? And I have like a huge thing with the I am that I am, like it's a huge thing. Like that's how I came into, I used to live in Houston, and thanks to the I am that I am, I yeah, I came I mean, it's a huge philosophical thing with Saint Germain and like with Neville Goddard, and it's like a whole rabbit hole. So when I saw the I am, I bought that book because but I was like, why should I buy it? I don't know, because I already had bought the other one. I'm like, should I buy this one or not? Should I? Sure, let's buy it. And then, okay, yeah, let's buy it. Why not? So then I bought it, and then I went to the white chalice, and that's where like we go, and like there's like this thing in like there's like this water coming, like there's like a swimming pool, and then you enter people enter naked there. So I was like, oh shit, okay, well, let's go naked. Why not? So I entered naked to that place. I went like or not even swimming. It was not swimming. It's just like connecting with the energy of Mary Magdalene, and it's a beautiful space, right? Like you have like a bunch of like candles and like incense. And then I was there, and I was like really giving thank you like to this energy, and like like that, because it's really feminine, like that vulnerability, or like accepting your body and accepting who you are, and like no judgment and whatever, and like if somebody's watching is watching, and so I was like feeling all of that. And I saw like and then I was like, first I like light a candle, like giving thanks to Mary Magdalene for and the elemental beings that were there. There was like a female elemental being and a masculine elemental being, like with a deer face, but like they were like human body. They were naked, both of them, and they were in different positions. And then I was like, you know what? I'm also going to ask for like, I think this is the perfect place to like connecting more with the feminine side, and being able, like, I think this is a perfect place to like, be vulnerable, and just like, I want to make peace with that side of me, and life, so that to see what happens, right? And I did, right? So then, I mean, then the next day, after living through all of this, then you told me about the dragon. I mean, you started about the dragon, and we started talking about. You're like, okay, Jose, okay, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then you told me about the
I
story of
was,
the
yeah.
dragon. And then you told me, and then we talked about it, and it was really interesting. And then I was like, you know what? I know why I bought that dragon with the I am notebook. I didn't know why I had to buy it at the time, but I just got it. And then when we were gonna say goodbye, I gave it to you, right? And for you, like that was like a huge, I mean, it meant so many things. The I am plus the dragon, and it was like, having like a fire and like all the different colors of the dragons. It's just a journal, right? And it was like,
Yeah.
like I mean, it's the stuff that, like, I mean, you just don't, like, I mean, yeah, people can define this as really random, but I mean, I love that randomness. It's that, like, it's just like really incredible how everything took order. And sometimes, like, it's just like listening to the heart and just like, hey, I just feel like this is something, and then boom, and then sometimes we don't even know why, but then things start coming up, and then phew, it's just really great.
Exactly. Listening to your heart, really, in those moments where we go, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Oh, I knew I should have done that. I knew I should have made that decision, that choice, that, to do this and to do that. Why didn't I do it? And in the moment, we have a really strong, or sometimes very subtle sense that we should do something. And when we don't do that, we're after, like, oh, we wish that we did. And it's those moments now that I am trying to be super aware of, so I can always listen to my heart, which I represent as my intuition, and follow its guidance, and then I know I'm always on the right track. But it's taking that time to really truly listen to the heart, to hear what it's telling you, rather than being defined by the, kind of like the ego or the intelligence or the kind of mind, whatever. It's
Mhm.
really listening to your heart for that inner guidance and following that. And then when you do, all these amazing things happen. And to also, like, add on to that, because, well, firstly, the pentagram thing I saw a week before, or a week or two before, when I went to Scotland. I've specifically
Yes,
wanted to go to the castle to see the
exactly.
pentagram, and the
Hmm.
pentagram actually wasn't there, and I thought it was like going to be on the floor. And I was like devastated. I was like, have they covered it over? Because I think they've covered a lot over. And this was actually in like, because I went to the Grant Castle and Urquhart's Castle in Scotland, where the Loch Ness, and where you see Nessie and the Loch Ness monster and things like that.
Oh wow.
Anyway, so that was a profound moment, because I linked up to the pentagram and you linked up to the Vesica, and then we kind of both came into that, which into the dragon, which actually represents what you were talking about in the chalice, because that is kind of like the DNA strand, or the
Yeah,
staff of
exactly.
Hermes, where he's got the snakes, the serpents, or it's like represented as the two dragons going
Hmm.
intersecting in and out, in and out. And so, and then it come to that closure kind of thing with the dragons. And when you gave me that journal, which was I am, which is what I wanted to say as well, is the whole topic of Matthias, which we didn't
Yes.
realize, because Matthias is
Uh-huh.
like, well, he's just going to go with the kind of flow of the 12, 9, 12 dimensions. And then throughout the whole thing, he was talking about I am, and I am is huge in my life. Like, I am grateful written on my bathroom window. So every single day I go like, I am grateful. And I have a list of all the things that I'm grateful for every
Mhm.
single day, which is I am, I am, I am. Because as soon as you say I am, the power that is within that
Yeah, it's.
brings your, that into your life. So as soon as you say I am, you have to be so very careful with the
Mhm.
language that we use. And so
Well.
that yeah, just like a huge thank you again for giving me that dragon book, because it's been so amazing. And then I made that poem, which was also like the whole thing.
Yeah,
And so
that was beautiful. No, and to like talk a bit on that I am. Um, so there's this thing called the I am movement, which was given by the Ascended Master Saint Germain, in the 1920s, and is the I am that I am, right?
yeah.
Um, and what means is, uh, there is this I, the first I am is like, which is also like very like, the sound also refers to like I am, is also like to the which is the God, which is God. So, or like the creator, or like the universe, or like the one, the unity of things, so that the first I am is like you're referring to like that God, or like that unity, the creator. and then whatever you say
Yeah.
that. So I am, healthy. I am, whatever you say in that part is like what you can like bring into life, and then the second I am, it brings it to like your, like it comes from the higher self, whatever you say, and then it brings it back to like your body here. So the second I am, it kind of like seals it into this earthly thing. So for me that was a huge thing, and it's like really powerful words, those I am that I am. So I mean, it's just incredible, like, I mean, the things that can come out from there. And the whole thing from Matthias was that I am. He actually was just at some like 1 month ago in Mount Sasha,
Yes.
where, and in Mount Sasha is where
Everything happens
Saint
there.
Germain came to the
Yeah.
to the person came to the person to deliver that I am knowledge, which is really incredible. No, so yeah, that's with the I am.
So beautiful, so powerful. So it's just like, it's such a good practice to bring into your life, to every day say I am grateful for, and then just list like a few things a day, or a list a day, which is like what I do, to just say like what I'm grateful for. And also throughout your day, mindfully being grateful for every moment, no matter what it is, because it's teaching us such valuable lessons. And
Mhm.
just using it as kind of an insight into a deeper layer to yourself as well. So thank you for explaining all of that and going into it. I think that,
Yeah, you're
but
welcome.
from then on, from
Mhm.
then on, we've had,
Oh yeah.
more synchronicities.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's incredible, no, like it and that's the beauty of it, right? Like once you start like experimenting like so much synchronicities, like it's kind of like, I mean, you just, it's like a messenger, the messenger of God, which is Hermes, is Mercury, right? Now you talked a bit about it. It's just like messages from the divine, like saying, hey, just keep going, right? And it's funny that you did mention a bit about Hermes, because I mean, I'm huge into alchemy, and that's something that like also kind of like connected a bit more into like of the synchronicities, and like, yeah, so that was like really, I mean, and they keep happening, which is amazing. So I'm just like very grateful with life.
Yeah. Thanks, Hermes.
Yeah, of course, I know Hermes is
Cheers,
a big
love.
fan. Yeah, I have Hermes here.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's lovely.
yeah, I have Hermes here,
Oh,
which is
wow.
also which is also taught which is also taught in Egyptian mythology. So Hermes, which is also Mercury, or is also known Mercury, is, I mean, he's just, he was like, they said, the creator of alchemy, the creator of magic, the creator of science, the messenger of gods, the one that was able to go, to hate and back, and it's really cool character. They,
Amazing.
yeah, it's.
So, speaking of alchemy, again, is a great segue into what I wanted to talk about next, because you can already tell like your passion, how much you love alchemy. But it would be so nice to hear about, when did alchemy start for you, and like pulled you towards alchemy.
Yeah. So okay, so with alchemy, it's also through synchronicities, right? Which, so that's, I mean, yeah. So through alchemy, I when I was in the US, I started like learning trading, like financial trading, like stocks and like penny stocks. Started in penny stocks. Then I met a friend through synchronicities as well. Like I just moved to this new town, and my cousin from Colombia was visiting with his wife, was visit or a girlfriend at the time. He was visiting like Houston, right? And then it turns out that Diana, which is my cousin's girlfriend at the time, um, she had her sister living in Houston with her husband. So we met all together, and her husband Ernesto and I, we started talking, and he was also into like financial trading. I was like, and then we hit it right off. Like, I mean, what are the chances that for the 1 week that my cousin was visiting Houston, you know, I met with him, and then I met Ernesto, and then Ernesto and I became like super close friends. Like we just like hit it off. And then we started like doing like trading, like just like, I mean, we were working, but we were like, hey, yeah, you know, like let's break out of like, let's be financially free, right? Let's work on that. So we
Right.
started doing that, and then I found out that through trading, in order to be successful, you have to learn psychology. Like that's like the most important thing, because when you're
Absolutely.
trading, there is so much emotions going in, like,
Mm-hmm.
like there is so much stuff that comes up. So I was like, okay, I have to go deep dive into psychology. And then I first, like, I'm a nerd, so I was like, I call my friend that he's like into psychology. He's like, hey, how do I get into psychology? He's like, oh, you have to, like, you should go to Freud, read Freud, and then after Freud you should go into Jung. So I started reading Freud, like interpretations of the dreams, and then I go to Carl Jung a bit, and then I started like reading to like Carl Jung, and then I see on his side, I read like 2 3 books. The red book is amazing, by the way. And in his footnotes, he put a bunch of stuff in alchemy. It was like all the footnotes were about alchemy. And I was like, and it's funny because when you read a Carl Jung book, like 1/3 or two, like 2/3 of the book is the actual book, and 1/3 is just footnotes. Like it's just like you can have so much information about that. It's just like incredible what he did, right? And then a lot of
Yeah.
the things were about alchemy. So that kind of like brought my interest on what alchemy was.
Ah.
And then during like this was 2 years and a half ago, I started like looking more into alchemy, and like I bought like a little book about alchemy, like history of alchemy. And then I was like reading through it, and then all of a sudden like an Instagram like page pop up. It's like it was called like Alquimia Tradicional de Alto Grado, which is a traditional alchemy of high grade. There is a course about everything you want to know about alchemy. It starts like, in 2 weeks. And like, I'm signing in no matter what. And that's the start of a whole new chapter for me.
Yeah. And so it
I
was
was like,
during the process of alchemy, of your course that, your synchronicities, like what we did and other things started coming in stronger.
after so yeah, so this course started like, it was like a 12-week course. No, 12 weeks, so 3 months course. And as soon as I started doing the alchemy, like they give us an exercise there to keep practicing alchemy on a day-to-day routine. And once I started doing that, like that's when I started tapping into my heart. That's where I started tapping into like many things that really like changed my life, like from like 180 degrees. It's just incredible. Uh yeah, what happened there is just like yeah.
So what is alchemy to you?
So alchemy is transmutations of energies. That's what alchemy really is, And I mean, some people, that's where chemistry comes from, actually, from alchemy. And alchemy actually, so alchemy comes from like the land of Chem. That's what alchemy actually means. And Chem was Egypt. That's the previous name of
No
Egypt
way.
before Egypt was named. Yes. Uh-huh.
I
So that's
didn't know that, because that's what Matthias talks about all the time when he was in Chem.
yeah, exactly. That's
And
that's
by the way, if
Atlantis.
anybody,
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone's wondering why we keep saying Matthias, it's Matthias de Stefano.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a person who can remember all of his lives, past lives, maybe future lives, I don't know. And everything's happening now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a quick lowdown on that, because people might be like, who is that? So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where alchemy comes from, and that comes from Hermes Trismegistus, right?
Yep.
Or like going back to Hermes or going back to Thoth. That's where, alchemy originated, right? And alchemy has had many things um like it's like some people think is like turning like metals into like from like getting like a base metal like lead, turning it into gold,
It's
right?
gold.
Which that's called actually spahiria. It's like actually working with the mineral or with the plant realm, and like changing, like, taking the essence and the substances through like spagyric or like alchemical processes. But alchemy, the alchemy that I do or that I practice is a spiritual alchemy in which I start like basically um, transmuting my chaos into light. Uh, and
So
use. Mhm.
just briefly, so you have the spiritual is called what? Not spiritual, sorry, the plant alchemy
Yeah, the
is
plant or
called what?
mineral alchemy is called spahiria.
Aspahelia. And
Spahiria.
this alchemy that you're doing to
This is
transmute
alchemy.
is just alchemy.
Hmm.
Okay. And what's the
And,
purpose
and
of that?
well, so I mean, with Spahiric, it's I mean, it's more of like helping like the day-to-day world on society on a material way. So that's where, like, a lot of like um um medicine comes from. Actually, it
Right.
came from spagyric, actually. And like you could, like, to treat and heal people, and like pharmaceuticals even ended up being like through that process, right? And that's how chemistry originated. But then alchemy is more of like the transmutation of your own self into the highest potential that you can actually get, right? So it's kind of it's a spiritual path, just like there is many spiritual paths that takes you to, I guess, enlightenment. Even though I have a friend that tells me we are all enlightened because we are light.
That's
So
it. That's it.
uh,
It's like
yeah,
it's like uncovering it, I see. It's like it's already there. We are already enlightened. We're already our our highest potential or highest everything. But we've just got to kind of take off that mask, lift off that veil.
exactly.
It's like we've been heavily conditioned. And when you look into the conditioning of, the generational conditioning, the conditioning of social media, the conditioning of our pet,
Mhm.
whatever society has brought us to believe, we've got to let go of all that belief, haven't we? And just to open up to everything, especially on such a grander scale, so we're not kind of so focused on everything that either goes right or wrong. It's not like that. It's like pulling yourself out and seeing everything bigger and opening yourself up to the possibility of more.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just incredible. um it's yeah. So yeah, so I can tell you a bit about alchemy,
Mhm.
and maybe dive into like what alchemy is, or like what we believe in alchemy is. So, okay, so there is something. Okay, there is like, so with alchemy, it's like it's
What's
very
the
symbolic. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep,
So
go ahead.
what has alchemy brought for you, and what will it bring for other people? Why would other people want to start alchemy? What would it bring into their lives? And how can it help them grow? And you can give examples on how it's helped you grow, what you've learned from it, and like how it's expanded your life in all those different ways.
Okay, so what alchemy has done for me, and what can help a lot of people actually, is, I mean, it just brings the best version of yourself up, and it's a process that takes time. It's not something that, oh, I do alchemy one day and then all of a sudden, yeah, oh, I got to the philosopher's stone, or I got to I did the great magnum. No, it's a process that, is like a path. It's a spiritual path that, it takes practice, and it takes constant, like, discipline every single day to start like going into the practices that we do. And I mean, it really like wakes up and like, well, actually what it does is it starts like so alchemy, what it does is, in alchemy we believe in chaos and light. So there's chaos and there is the alchemist. So alchemist is like, the Holy Ghost, or like the Holy Spirit, like the divine, the creator, right? So you have these alchemists and you have the chaos. And in alchemy we believe that everything is, light and darkness, light and chaos, right? So what we do through this alchemical process is, we take each one particle of matter, which is chaos, and we take the light within it, right? So there is a light within it. We call the light, we call the alkaes, and the alkaes wakes up the light that is trapped in this matter, right? So through an alchemical process that, if you want me, we can go through it later on. But just to give like the basics, uh, basically this light within wakes up and transmute, or transmute with that chaotic matter. So through creating the sulfur, it first creates the sulfur, which is, it gives you like this, it's called intelligent discriminative intelligence, which is also aka, or also known as, um, a discernment, right? So like learning like what's good and what's bad, like learning what's, uh you know um yeah, like learning how to know what's the best for your ability, or like what's the best for your highest self, and what's not. And this comes, like, say for example, when I was talking to this person, having the discernment on, like, say, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, like this is how it starts helping out, and it starts building up as you start practicing this exercise that we do. um and it just like literally changed my life, and it changed it in a way that, I so what we do is we do a meditation, right? And on this meditation, like, I mean, it takes 20 minutes, and then every single day that I start doing it, like I don't notice any change until like I'm like 6 months, 1 year, 1 year and a half into it, and then I look back into my life and I see like, whoa, else, whoa, I'm in a completely different uh way on where I was supposed to go, because I started like believing into something more, and just giving myself into that, and just trusting the process, and I just gave myself into that process. It literally just like, I mean, made me, connect with my intuition. It made me like, do like, it prepares me, because it starts creating like, when we create the sulfur, then this sulfur become connects with this mercury which is inside. So the mercury is also called the alkahest. So, and the reason why alchemical, we talk the reason why in alchemy it talks a lot of symbols is because back in the day, um I mean, people killed people with esoteric knowledge. People killed witches. People killed, everything that, there were stories of people that, learned that some alchemies were turning like, from lead into gold. So what they did is like they took them into prison, and it's like, hey, create all the gold with this lead, otherwise you're not free. And that happened, or like, so like
Wow.
what they, yeah, it's horrible. So what they had to do is like they had to write everything in symbols, so that only the persons that had the initiate, like that were initiated into this philosophy, they were able to understand each other, and um, pass the knowledge on. Yeah.
Wow. And just with you saying that, like we have those elements in our body, don't we? And
Mhm.
also Mercury's come up again.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
another
So
way to look at it. It's a really nice, I just thought about it then, the Mercury, the messenger, and the messenger that the Mercury is giving us, that is an element within our body. And that when you say you're like transmuting it, it brings up the light within us. What does that light mean to you? Like, what is
okay.
the dark mean to you, and what does the light mean to you? And I know you've been through things like the darkness retreat, and you've
Oh
had
yes.
intense moments that you know that blown my mind listening to them, how how you can have got through that. Okay. But it's with that, it's all thinking about everything that you're talking about, and knowing that you've been in the darkness retreat, it seems like you've just always been practicing alchemy in some form, and that we all kind of are in our own way. But we're certainly just sometimes just not aware of what we're doing or why we're doing it. But sometimes it just happens, right? But yeah, I would love for you to talk about what is the dark and what is the light, and what that means when it's in that cell and you're uncovering it, and what that does to the body and to you as a person and your personality.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about Mercury, the chaos, which is the matter, and the elements, right? And how everything comes together. So Mercury is the same as the alchemist, which is the light, is just the divine creator. So what alchemy believes is that we, or every creation, everything in the creation has Mercury within them. So we all are divine. We all have the divinity within us. Now, the thing is that the chaos, yeah. So the thing is, and it's so beautiful. I mean, the chaos is the matter, right? And what is chaos and what is matter? So chaos is, that part in our life that, okay, so it comes from, like, Adam and Eve, the fall, the great fall. So just like it happened with Adam and Eve, it has happened in many other cultures, that all of them have the same myth of, like, falling from, like, heaven, or falling from, like, this paradise, and we came to experience this chaotic. We as humans, like with Matthias says, oh, what if, that what if is like, oh, let's explore what's going to happen, right? So, and we explored, like, basically we wanted to explore the chaotic. We wanted just to explore matter. What is matter? So when we came down here, what we experience as matter and as chaos is, like, all those things that, in alchemy is called, like, those things that are, like, low frequency, that are holding us, that doesn't, like, let us, like, that are heavy, that, make us, like, yeah, like, working, like, low frequency. It can be like hate, fear, all these kind of things, lying, not honesty, like, greed. All these things are the chaos. This is the chaos. This is the unorganized things, right? So what we believe in alchemy is that we're made of particles. Actually, okay, so first we're made of particles, but before that, the mercury, or, like, the alkahest, is always, like, raining. It's raining alchemy through levels, or not raining alchemy. It's raining alkahest, or raining mercury, all the time, and that's what makes life evolve. So at any single moment, there is always, like, consciousness and light, like, spreading through everything of the creation, like, everywhere, right? So what we do in alchemy is, like, we, through an exercise, basically imagine, like, a magnifying glass, and you take that light that is coming through, and you magnify it into one specific place, right? And that's the exercise that we do. So we magnify and intensify that light, so that we start working with it. And what do we work? So what we work is, like, we believe that we're made of particles, and these particles are made of chaos and light. So the light, which is the mercury, we call it the coagulated mercury. So the trapped mercury. This mercury is trapped in two bodies. One is called the mineral body, which is the moon, and the second one is the metallic body, which is the sun. And it doesn't have to do anything with astrology. It's just a different, symbolism, because, people were, like, they put everything in code so that, they didn't kill them. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. So what it does is, or, like, at least what we, so the metallic, which is the sun, the metallic body is, like, our actions. It's like, all that, what we do in our actions that are heavy, that are, in low frequency. And the mineral body is, like, our emotions, like, more on that moon side. Our emotions, like our thoughts, like, these kind of things are also in the moon body. So what we do is, when we start, like, magnifying that alkahest, which is also mercury. So when we start magnifying that alkahest to wake up this trap or like to free this mercury that is inside, this trapped mercury. So what it does is first it's so hot that it starts like like it combines the sun and the moon. It combines them, and that's where you start seeing like this alchemical symbol where the sun and the moon like starts to get combined, you know.
Right.
And then what it does is like with
Actually
that.
have that ring on.
Oh my God, you see, it's beautiful. Well, so that's so that stage of the sun and moon combined is the first step of the sulfur. So that's how the sulfur gets created. And again, this
Right.
sulfur is the um discernment, right? So is building this discernment. But it first is like a black sulfur because it's like really like it's like really heavy and smells bad. It's putrefact, you know, it's like that. So as you start like calling the alkalis and the alkalis doing its process, it starts purifying this sulfur, you know, and it starts like like making volatile this sulfur, and that's where you see the alchemical symbol
Okay.
of the lion. It first comes with a green lion eating the sun, but then this green lion becomes a red lion with wings, which we also saw in the park. Uh-huh. So that red lion with wings is when the sulfur starts being volatile, and by being volatile is like it's more spirit, you know, is less chaotic, is more in the spirit realm. And once you like really purify this sulfur, then this sulfur starts like giving some like frequency to the trapped mercury, which is still trapped through the mineral body, and it frees this mercury at some point. And once it freezes, it starts racing. So we call it the column B and the column J. On the column B is where, which is this is the in the Temple of Solomon. So alchemy takes like a lot of things from many esoteric practices. So the column B is where the sulfur comes up, and the column J is where the mercury comes up, right? So once the column B or like the sulfur is up in the column B, then it gives a frequency to wake up or to free the mercury that is trapped. So then the mercury, it becomes from coagulated mercury to a free mercury. And then once both of them are up, they combine and they do another alchemical wedding, which is like the union, right? That union, that Vesica Pisces, you know, that union again, it comes from there. And then from that union, the Rebis is created, and this
Right.
Rebis is where like you took that chaos. So practically, what does this mean, right? Like you're like, okay, Jose, you're talking so much nonsense. There is so much things going on here. I'm scratching my head because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, it's
Well,
amazing. I'm
yeah,
like,
thank you. And yeah, I know I go like really deep into the stuff, so you
I love
listeners
it.
bear with me.
This is what we're here for. This is what we're here for.
Nice, nice. So once we create that Redis, then this matter, this chaotic matter, is not chaotic anymore. It's just pure light, you know. And yes, it's the mercury, which is still in there, is always divine. So it's never that mercury is never uh, like dirty. But the sulfur, it still has some chaotic nature in it, right? But once you get it into the Rebis state, which the Rebis is in alchemy is when you see like there's some images of like a man and a woman combined into one body, and then it's like a man, like two heads, like one woman, like a female face, and then a male face with boobs and like with you know uh
Oh,
yeah. It's crazy. And that's the combination of the metal and the moon, the feminine and the masculine,
oh,
all
yep.
merge into one, which is also the sulfur and the mercury combined into one. And once we get into that state is when this particle is now pure light, is pure alkalis. And so then what we do is we take it from like from these rebis, we start like coagulating it, so that it becomes like we save it in our etheric body. So it goes from like a rebis fire to rebis, um, air to Rebis water and to Rebis earth, which is like solidifying this body or like this Rebis into our etheric body. So, and that's how we, with once we start doing this with enough of this, eventually, like if you keep doing this, every single time that you do this, you create like something that we call uh, for I don't know how to say this in English. It's materia foliada, which is matter, like work matter. I guess you can call it like this, or
What
like
matter?
dirt, like soil. It's like
Okay.
it's like this soil. You know, like you create like this beautiful soil, um, or like layer, and you can always tap into this. So and once you start doing this, every single time you start accumulating this, right? And once you accumulate like every once you start accumulating this, you can always tap into these uh, particles of Rebis that you have been creating and you're saving in your etheric body until eventually you start cleaning up all your particles that you have. Once you get to like that state of like they call it like the critical mass, so that you have more I guess like clean up particles, and what it does, it takes over all the chaotic matter and it transforms everything into like divine I guess particles, right, or divine Rebis.
And
Yeah.
so when all that happens in your body and you are transmuting it,
Mhm.
at whatever speed that that's happening at, how do you see that play out in the outside world? Because if you're changing your inside world, then your outside world will change as well. And so
Mhm.
how has that played out for you? And like, what does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me practically is like, I start like every time I start working on my chaos, I'm working on like on my emotions, on like I'm working on my emotions, I'm working on my actions, I'm working on my karma, I'm working on all the things that have brought me here. I'm working on all that karmic cycle that I've been working in. So every single time I'm doing this, I'm just like taking one of the things that, is heavy in my matter and I'm just transmuting it, and I don't even know what that is. I don't even know which particle comes up and which thing is actually working on me. It could be something from my past life. It could be something from this life. It could be a bad thought. It could be like, it could be a lie. It could be anything. It could be whatever. I don't know. But what I do is that as I keep doing this exercise, life becomes beautiful. Like life becomes like lighter. Like life becomes like I can see the divine. When you ask me at the beginning, hey, what do you do, like when was the life that you turned towards love? Every single time I do this exercise, I'm turning towards love, because
Absolutely.
I'm loving a part of myself and I'm transmuting it. And then as time comes by, like I start like thinking different. I start like looking into my emotions. I start like creating this subtle body. And I'm able to perceive other things. I'm able to perceive synchronicities. I'm able to meet people that are in the right frequency. I'm able to,
Hmm.
now I'm more, I'm ready to do, my Yahe ceremonies, which I do a lot of I do some plant medicine, which is Yahe, which is similar to ayahuasca. So I've been able to do that. And through those experiences, I was able to, get the pentagram, for example, and after which is a synchronicity, right? So then after that, then I was able to, I had like a lot of like, party and like alcohol and other things involved in my day-to-day life here in Amsterdam. And then through this, I started waking up and saying, okay, why am I actually doing this? Is this actually what, as I'm building that discernment from the sulfur, I'm able to like discern better. I'm able to take better actions. I'm able to, like not be as, as run through my emotions by actually like slowing down life. And as I start doing that, I was ready to go into the darkness retreat, which was just an incredible experience. And as I keep doing this, like life, keeps putting me into, I'm just trusting life more, and it just life becomes easier and easier and easier. Now, with all this being said, it's not an easy path. It's like it's not easy. It's not easy to have the discipline to, every single day do the exercise that I need to do. That's why they call it a Herculean work. And they call it Herculean because it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to choose love every single time. It's not easy. It's easier to do other things that are not the easy way. And this
Yeah.
is it takes time. Like, sometimes I have to do my exercises, and my family are like, hey, Jose, we have to go. I'm like, no, this is important for me. Like, you guys, you go, and then I stay, or whatever. So it's
That's
a
so
path that I'm
important.
taking. It's a path that I'm taking, and I'm very grateful because it just has changed my life. And if you guys ever think or considering on doing that, or any spiritual path that that helps you build your discernment and love, is just go for it, and you will see like how just magical, and how just like not even magical, just how life gets easier and lighter. And it's not lighter because of like the weight, but also lighter of the light. This is a very nice word, lighter. It's both,
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
just less matter, more light. And also the beautiful thing is that we all have the chaos. And this is something really interesting, because there's a book called the the lost entry to the what is it, the open entry to the closed palace of the king, from
Okay.
Ireneo Filaleteo. He was like an alchemist from the UK, actually, in the 1500s.
Wow.
And one of the chapters he has is called the chaos of the wise, so of the wise people, or the wise men, or the wise woman. And what is this chaos? Everybody has chaos. Like, you have chaos, I have chaos, we all have all
Yeah.
our baggage of things, that we have accumulated through life. And the beauty of this is that with all of those things that we have lived through, this is the only thing that will make us alchemize and transmute it into light, so that we can go to our next step. So all those things that were really like tough in our life, and like made us make bad decisions, or like really like was really dark and really chaotic, and really like like sometimes they call it like the dark age of the soul. I think that's what sometimes people call it.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, all of that chaotic matter, is the only way that you're gonna be able to alchemize it and create that body of light. That philosopher's stone, or whatever we want to call it, right? So yeah, and it's beautiful because like I cannot do it with your chaotic matter. I cannot do it with my mom's chaotic matter. I cannot do it with whoever. It's only with mine that I can actually do.
Yes.
So it's, and I think that's a beautiful concept, and a beautiful way to see it, and
Absolutely.
accepting. And it goes back to accepting who I am, accepting, having compassion, having empathy, going back to what we started with, and every single time it's that, so yeah. That's alchemy, I guess.
Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. Wow. My mind. No, I absolutely love alchemy. But yeah, there was so much I wanted to touch on what you was just saying. So, when a person is working on their say their chaos, and they're
Hmm.
wanting to transmute that into light, and in that moment they're working through it, say in meditation. But sometimes you feel in meditation that the mind is either going out of control, and your
Hmm.
body isn't used to sitting down for so long. So for me, it's more like the yogic practices, and it's bringing stirrer, so it's bringing that stability into the
Hmm.
body in order to be able to be still. So no matter what goes on in your mind, your body is still, so it's grounded in the earth, so you are unmovable. And in that, when you feel like you are so strong in your posture, and you're so connected to the divine, and that is whatever you want to call it, God, source, and when we're connected and we're working through, and all that fear, all that shame, all that guilt comes up, and sometimes is so overbearing, what do you do in those moments? And because I know that for myself in the past. And when I see other people, sometimes they have to literally get up and go out. And I'm like, wow, like they really cannot sit still, and it is really difficult. And so when those moments come up and they don't want to relive that moment, they don't want to relive that pain, that fear, that suffering. It's like, why should we relive that pain and fear and suffering? It's like, how can we make attractive suffering? How can we make attractive that enough for people to make that effort to go into it?
Okay, so it's a really good question, and a really good. It's really, and it touches something really important, and it's like, so when we start doing this exercise, it's called Solve et Coagula, which is this exercise, which is a meditation. The chaos is always with us, and it has been there for years. It has been there for like millennia, for all the thousands of lives that we have been living, here, right? So the chaos is comfortable, right? The chaos is like, hey, your body, Jose, I love it. It's chilling. It's amazing. It's so cool. Like, I love being you. And then Jose is there like drinking, and he's like, oh, I don't want to see my eyes, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna like drink my problems away, and I'm just gonna have fun, and and not really. I'm just like evading some of the stuff because I don't even know I'm evading them, So the chaos,
we avoid everything, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And the chaos is chilling there. So once we start doing this exercise and we start like putting like, this magnifying glass of pure divinity into our body, and it starts like taking one chaos away at a time, the chaos starts feeling like the heat, it starts feeling the ehele. Yeah, exactly. They're like, yeah, exactly. So the chaos is not, the chaos is not dumb. So the chaos has to do something to, keep that state where the chaos is, right? So what the chaos starts doing is like, as we start doing this exercise, they start putting like some thoughts in you. It's like, oh no, this is gonna feel uncomfortable, and you're gonna feel distractions. And sometimes, like, even when we start doing this exercise, like you see like some like emotional like disrupt, or like inflows all of a sudden, and then you start like, oh, how am I acting? I all of a sudden I got super angry, or all of a sudden I like, I start yelling, or I start doing some things, because that's the chaos, that it feels the discomfort, and it starts like, like working on it, because hey, it was in a comfy house, now it's not in a comfy house, So
exactly.
what is recommended is just to keep doing the meditation, and just keep doing, and just keep, practicing, and just trust the process, and just, even if that happens, just trust that everything is going to be fine, and as you go through it, things will things eventually come down. It might not be at that time, sometimes we're going to have some difficult, ways when we do that. Sometimes it's going to be very easy, but always just keep the process, because it's just the chaos that is just, just wants
expressing itself. Yeah, it's like
and
it's like it's got ants in its pants, and it needs to express itself, because it's like,
totally.
what are you doing to me right now? This is not what I want. So it's like a stubborn thing, and it needs looking at and going, okay, why are you being this way? Why is this? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling this discomfort? It's okay. It's absolutely okay to feel that way. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not doing meditation wrong. We're not doing alchemy wrong. We're not doing anything wrong. We're doing everything right by being there. And if we do lose it, if we can't cope, it's okay. Because when we get down again and again and again and again, it will dissolve that irritation, that's like kind of, moving through our body, and it will slowly disappear. And it's such, and you increase your meditations now, don't you? So you go from a few to like
you start increasing them. So like the first year I started with one, then after the first year, I can add one every 6 months. So right now I'm at 5 per day, and there is a total of 9 that you can do. So once I reach 9 meditations per day, I cannot do anymore. And the reason why there is this increasing, in a ladder way, is because, again, there is this magnifying glass of energy passing through your body, and when it does, it's recharging and putting like some high voltage of energy passing through your body. So we have to build our chakras and our body to handle that type of energy. So because if you start doing more than you do, then it can cause problems, because you can burn up some of those things that are not ready, because we're not ready. So we have to start building them up as we go. And it's just beautiful the way, like, every time I like do one more, it's just like, whoa. It's always a process, right? Because like when I started, like, I mean, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna do 5, and there's no way I'm gonna do 2. I can barely do 1 per day. You know, I mean, it's like crazy. But it's funny because the teacher tells us, like, just don't worry about it. Just whenever you get the time, you will be prepared to do it. And now that I'm doing 5 per day, I'm like, it's just amazing how I'm able to do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do 9. Don't know how I'm gonna do 6, but whenever I go there, I have been building up enough matter, or enough Rebis, tierra foliada, to go to that place, and it just happens amazingly, And it just doesn't happen amazingly. I choose to make that a habit for me, and
Absolutely.
as I choose to do that, it's just, and that's the Herculean work. It's actually choosing to do that. I mean, it's easy for me to just like don't meditate and sleep, or like, do whatever, or go, do whatever and not do them. It's very easy scrolling through Instagram, or like or having a talk to whichever loved one. It's very easy to not do it. It's very, very easy. So actually
Hmm.
choosing to actually do it is like, whoa, I made like, I'm happy. I'm happy. I
You
feel
made
accomplished
that.
when I.
Yeah, you made that decision for you, which brings you more self-love. And every time you choose you, instead of something that takes you away from yourself, every time that you choose you in those moments, in those sacred practices, in that time, that precious time, those precious moments for you and the connection, the amount of bliss you will feel in that connection, you'll know you're loved, you're safe, you're looked after, and something that's so beyond anything you could ever know before and ever dream of knowing. Because when you feel it and you taste that divine experience, you do not want to go back either. You're like, I want to keep going, I want more. But you've got to get through that tough time to get to that point first, and you've got to keep going and have that effort to keep going, because it's so easy to turn on, watch like TV, Netflix, whatever, or distract yourself in some way on social media. I don't know, but it's something different for everyone. It can be food, it can be something,
Totally.
whatever. And so it's just like, oh no, we have all the excuses in the world to not do it, and they're really good excuses.
Yeah,
They're
totally.
like,
No.
I cannot do this because I've got to be in there. Like, you just choosing you and saying to your family, hang on a minute, I've just got to do this. And that is so, so incredibly powerful. So thank you for sharing that, because when we do take those moments to say no, hang on, and even saying no, even putting yourself first before someone else, is so hard for a lot of people to do, and to take that step, because of all the background baggage that we have, and that we just never really have gone within to say hello to ourselves, to love our hearts, to know our hearts, to know who we truly are. Like, our body is working for us day in, day out to keep us alive. So we need to know it and look after it and care for it. And
Yeah,
so
totally.
everything that you said just shines a light on how important that is. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I
You're
was
welcome.
also really interested in
Hmm.
the why 9, because it reminds me of like the 9 dimensions that we went
Hmm.
through on the event that we did with Matthias de Stefano. And it was kind of 9 dimensions, and the last 3 are kind of the in
Hmm.
breath, the hold, and the out breath. um
Hmm.
so is that got any relevant, um is that related in any way to the 9 dimensions?
I don't know if there's a relationship to that. To be honest, I don't know why 9 is the max. Well, what I
Mm.
will say is that the reason why it's a max of 9 is that's because that's the most our body can handle. But actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because through the whole process, there is 9 steps on the alchemical on the exercise. There is 9 steps. Like the
Right.
from the 1 to 7 is raising the matter, and then the last two is or like raising the matter into Rebis, and then the last two is uh, coagulating that into this other body. So it's actually 9 steps, which I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and also sometimes you see on alchemical symbols or like alchemical imageries, there is like this 9 crowd or like these 9 eagles in like this picture specific, which is like the 9 alchemical steps that you have to do. So I don't know if it has. I know the 9 symbolizes a lot of those 9 steps that needs to be done, but then why total of 9? I just think that other than that, our body is not able to handle the energy.
Wow.
And it's beautiful that because every single time we call the energy, it's a personalized, it's a customized energy. So it brings enough heat to melt the metallic and the mineral bodies, but is cold enough so that it doesn't affect anything else in our body. So it's just like and what the heat that you might need might be a different heat that I might need. So it's a customized light
Your
that you're getting.
body works that out for you, sort of thing.
Well, it's not even the body; it's the alchemist that does that, which is and the
Wow.
alchemist is like God or like the creator. So the
Wow.
creator, you call the creator, and you let the creator do what the creator does. You don't tell the creator how to do stuff. That's what you're doing. So we call the creator
Right.
within. We call the creator within. Hey, here is my, my attention span and my space and my void for you to do what you need to do, however you need
That's
to
it.
do it, and I just trust that you're doing it, and
Absolutely.
that's it. And then
And you watch how the amazing stuff unfolds in your actual life, how things attract to you on a more positive, higher frequency, how, how different people with different mindsets and then you get, all the positive things come to you and you're like, wow, suddenly all of this stuff is happening and I don't even know how,
totally,
just by making the effort to do those practices. So
yeah,
that is, wow.
no, and it's funny because I as I started doing this, like more synchronicities started to happen, and like more things, like random things started to happen. Like I remember, like when I started, like 6 months into it, I was in a party. I was drinking. It was like 2 3 a.m. in 2 3 a.m. And I met this random woman that was dancing, and she all of a sudden she told me, Jose. Well, she didn't know my name. She comes to me and she says, "Hey, you meditate," and I'm like, "How do you know?" Like just a random person dancing in the middle. She's like, "Oh, I just know," and then we never talk a single word ever again. I was like, eh? Like, I mean, I spoke to this woman again. I saw her dancing again over there, and she delivered that message. Boom.
So what did
And
that
then,
mean to you?
well, I mean, that was like what it meant is like, okay, I don't know if I'm seeing the changes. Yeah, and sometimes I don't know like if the things that I'm doing are right or not right, but somehow people are perceiving something and are seeing a change in the things on who I am. And maybe that's not maybe my physical body, but that might be like some like maybe she can see other type of bodies, or I don't know how
Yeah.
maybe she was a messenger. I don't know what, but because I mean, do you have clairvoyance and people, I have no idea, but it gave me
Yeah.
a reassurance that what I was doing is the right step. It's a synchronicity to knowing that whatever I'm doing, just keep doing it because it's
Exactly.
creating a change. And yeah, that's what it meant, really.
You had like a beautiful earth angel come and go, like, keep going.
Yeah,
I can tell what you're
exactly.
doing and it's working. You've got
Yeah,
this invisible energy, the invisible energy that is around us, in our aura. And we can really, especially when you go deep and into your intuition, into your heart, you really start to understand other people's energy and you start to awaken to multi-dimensional things that you can't really put your finger on at first, and then suddenly you're able to, you know, see things differently. You're able to see other people differently. You know, your reactions become responses in the most beautiful, compassionate way, and you just start to open your eyes. But sometimes, if we don't go into these practices, what happens is the universe will kind of do that for you, and it will, you know, put people and places. I think Peter Crone has that kind of saying, people, places, circumstances, whatever, in your way, in order for you to like heal. Because like, when, don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And I don't want to take his words off him. That's why I'm saying it. But on a way which is like, you know, you can be triggered by something, and then you do these practices, and then it heals the trigger slowly. But if you don't do those practices, and you're triggering and you're triggering and you're triggering and you're reacting badly because you're judging the other people, you're judging the atmosphere, you're judging yourself, you're judging and you're judging, the more you judge, the more that thing's just going to continue to happen, that pattern over and over again. And it's going to have to come in the universe and just go, no, if you're not going to learn from this repeated pattern, from the same thing that keeps happening, I'm going to have to do something seriously, like, not, you know, pleasant for you to experience,
for you to leveling up.
Yeah, for you to open up and see. And that's when, you know, we have these experiences that happen in our life that, you know, we break so far down, we break to pieces. But when we're broken, we start to pick ourselves up and piece ourselves up, but this time with an open heart, because we have had no option in that suffering but to go within. Because I know firsthand the amount of difficult times that I've had, that have had come my way, and I've gone like, wow, I really wasn't listening. I was really making up excuses, you know. And it's come to this, and it's shocking. It's shocking how you react. It's shocking how, you know, when you're that in deep state of suffering or fear or anxiety or whatever, and it's really not a pleasant experience. But you don't have to, I don't believe, go through that. I think, like, if you do those practices and you do take those like alchemy or a spiritual practice for yourself, that awakens you up in a more gentle way.
Totally. I mean, it's and it's just listening to our heart, no? It's just listening to our heart, and that will help in our day-to-day, in our action to action, to just, you know, turn towards love. I mean,
Absolutely. I was just
it's
gonna say.
yeah, it's just amazing. And again, it's not easy. It's not easy when we're in the chaos, when we're like living through those things, that chaotic matter. The chaos knows how to do its things. It's really good at it. It has been doing it for thousands of years. It's amazing at it. It's an expert of it, you know. And our job is to somehow get out. That's why we chose this life, is to get out of that, you know, get out of that chaotic matter. It's not an easy task, you know, like it's not easy whatsoever, but it's not impossible. Otherwise, we wouldn't have chosen to be here. That's as easy as simple. If we didn't think that we were able to do it, why we wouldn't have chosen this? So if we're passing through some difficult things, I think it's just good to tap into our heart and know deep down there that somehow I'm strong enough to